Thank you all for agreeing to participate. To start, I'd like to ask everyone to go around and first and last name, and if you can tell us the year you're born. Start with you, sir.
Okay. My name is Willie Jones, born in 51, born in January of 2014, 1951.
Thank you.
My name is Willie Jones, and I was born in February 7, 1448.
1448.
1948.
1948.
Yeah.
Michael Jones, born February 21st, 1960.
Brenda Jones, born September 1st, 1957.
J.T. Jones, born December 15, 1953.
And I just want to confirm on video that you're all consenting to participate in the video interview.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is really your opportunity to share, and I think what would be helpful for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, if you'd be willing to share with us any memories that you have of the land and the property that was owned by your father and your family. I'll just invite anybody.
Well, I guess let's start with me.
I guess so.
Billy. I remember when we was born on the property, because all of us was born on the property. When we was growing up as children, we played from sun up to sundown, you understand, and we enjoyed our life there at that time on the property. As children, you know, we thought that day never ends, you know, and as we grew up and things started happening, and when the property was sold away from me, I remember asking my mother and my father, real young too, I asked them, I said, why are we selling our property and moving on to somebody else's property? It just came into my mind just like that when I was a kid, you know. And they didn't give me no real firm answer, you know. So as a child, I just, you know, just kept on playing or went out the house or something like that. And then one time I remember, because we grew up playing in our community, there was mostly Caucasian peoples. And we played with Caucasian peoples during that time there. And one day I asked my mother, she was cooking, I never will forget that day neither. I asked my mother, I said, I said, why do I have to go to my school when I go right by my friend's school, Caucasian school? How come I can't go to his school? She looked at me and she said, you know, colored people don't go to school with white people. Just like that. I said, wow. And you know, and that didn't do anything to my mind. How I just went on and started playing with something else again, you understand? But back there in that time, seemed like we had the best time as children then, you understand, in a segregation setting, you understand, as far as that concerned, you understand. We didn't seem like nothing was going wrong, but there were things going wrong behind the curtains, you know, smoke screen and things like that with our father. But staying there on that property as children, and I remember the good time, and just remember the good time as kids, you know. I remember that. And like I said, when we moved away from there, it hurted me real bad. Especially how we moved off the property, how we got off the property. I just couldn't understand why would my father leave his own property to live on somebody else's property, you understand? And what was the reason of it, you know? What was the reason of it? So make a long story short, to get us started on this project, what we're working on now, I asked one of my siblings, she's my oldest sister, she lived in Dothan, Alabama. I said one day we was going to Athens, Alabama to see her son in jail. And I worked at the airport, so I got on the wrong road. I got on the road going to the airport instead of going 72 to Athens. She told me, and we went through the community why she used to live in and stuff like that in her younger days. She said, we live this, there, and that. that bothered me. In different houses here and different houses there. So that bothered me real bad. I said, why was y'all living at these different places and our father had that land up there while we was born at? She said, that's our property. Y'all should be able to get that land back. This is after we had turned about, I don't think I was about, all of us was grown then. She didn't tell us that to all of us. She told me, she didn't tell nobody but me that day. All of us were grown at that time. She would never tell us in our growing up age, you understand. So she would, I found that very, very strange. And I asked her, I said, what you mean? 2.5 acres of land or something like that? I said, land back there, they call you no more than $50 an acre back then. That's in the country compared with the time it's not there now. And I said, that's when I told JT and my youngest brother, they worked at Christ. I said, y'all go up there and look in the family papers. Yeah, I just told them like that. I said, y'all go up there and look, because they was off in the daytime. I said, y'all go and look and see what happened to our father's land. So they went and looked, and this led us to what y'all are talking about right here. And it showed a lot of things because we've been working at this thing something like 30 years practically almost, you understand. We had setback after setback, you understand. But we did look at a lot of paperwork, you understand, concerning our family because we didn't know our family. And I found that very strange about my father also, why he was kept secret of the family. He never did tell us about our family on his side, you see. So I was curious about that. I said, I wonder why he didn't never tell us about it because this land is in his name and stuff like that. And I told my sister, I told Jetty and Mike, I said, what I want to do is get to the bottom of it to see how much land involved in it, in general, you understand? Because you always have to have a starting place. You know, where the land start from. You see, you go back to that. That's the root of it, you understand? And that will clear everything up coming forward, you understand? Well, why did he get it? And who give it to him? You understand? Right. Was his uncles, or was his nephews, or was it dad or who? You understand? Grandfather or who? But find out, why did he get it from, you see? So you always follow that, always back to that, and then come forward, you see? So, but yeah, all that time that we was doing all that, I think they was my brother here, JT, and myself. We're the best researchers in this town
Right.
concerning that family out there. And that was and not only that, you understand, that was a big, big farm at that time that we were born on. Our father was his father was born there, and our grandfather there was born on that property. And this go all the way back. And this picture here, I don't know if Mike shows you this. This shows you that we are really mixed race, you understand. This shows you right here that we are mixed race. So I wanted to find out this side of the family. You know,
That was Shandy Jones.
Yes, I knew my mother part of the family on her side, you know, but I wanted to find out how did we become the mixed race of people, you understand, and who are our peoples. So as children, out there on that property, we played on the property, all over the property, all over by Wind Drive. Are you familiar with all that out that way? Wind Drive, Craig Union, all the University Drive, Chevrolet Places, and all them call-outs out there. We played out there when we were children, you understand. So I remember a lot of that stuff out that way. So I wanted to find out how much land and who it is this land come from. So what I did, I'm gonna make a long story short while some of the other siblings can talk. I wanted to go to the cemetery. We played in cemeteries out there too, you understand. You know how kids are, scared of ghosts, you understand. And we want to go out there and just point our fingers at the tombstone, you know, and take off running. So we used to do that too, scare each other. So, and our mother used to scare us going to our father's house by the cemetery to make us come home, straight home. So don't let the sun catch you down. You know you got to come by the cemetery. We wouldn't let the sun catch us down coming by this. We wouldn't let the sun go down catching us coming by the cemetery. We get home right quick. So old people did us like that as children, you know, keep us in line. Those fairy tales. So in other by we doing went to the cemetery and found out. I said I know, cause me and him used to play in both. All we know where all the cemeteries out there, even now. And some people don't know why some people buried it out there even now. For us as up there by that Chevrolet place out there way on University Drive, there's a cemetery that nobody even talking about it. They built a crystal restaurant on top of the cemetery. Nobody never said anything about it because it was black. It's there today. I can take you up there and you can see the humps that have sink down and they have put asphalt in there, lined up 2 and 3 in a row. They have filled them back up with asphalt to keep people parking in their parking lot, you know. We'll not never tell nobody it was a cemetery. But we knew it was a cemetery, me and him, at the time we were children. So, but that's how this thing pretty much started with the research into our family. And we hadn't really got to the bottom of this thing yet about our family from the white side of it. And that's what concerns me about it now, you know. I know that his father, and we have had more land, well, was the biggest landowners in Huntsville. If you do the research, you'll find out that the place we stayed on, right there, where that duck pond at and around that area, it was a whole plantation. Well, whose plantation was it? See, it was these ancestors, our ancestors' plantation. How we come up there, and my father and them was born, and we were born there. How much land do we should have known? How much land was ours there? But we still hadn't seen that clear yet, you know, because if we are from that plantation. You know what a plantation concerned of. You understand? A man owning a plantation, that's a lot of land.
A lot
you
more
understand?
land.
And that's why our family come from, that plantation. It goes all the way back to the 1800s, 1700s, you understand? So, but that's it in a nutshell, mostly, that I know about it, and I want to get to the end of that. I want, even if it's no money involved in it, I'm a person that wants to know who my family is, while I won't have to be guessing at it.
It's important. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for sharing. Do other siblings want to? What I'm interested in are memories that you have of the property, memories that you have of your parents there, of your father, what you did on the land. Anyone else want to share?
JT?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna share a little bit memories of the property, the good times that we had with our mother and father while we was there. And I can remember that my father was a well-providing husband. He cared for us, even though he didn't have a third grade education, but he was very energetic, just like everybody said, and he could pretty much do anything. You know, he was a brick mason. He did all kind of work, interior decorator, a chef here in Huntsville, Alabama. And the good time that we had on that land, and the bad times, we had good times on the land, but our life started slowly deteriorating when we moved away from the land. You know, we like BL said, we moved away from the land to sharecrop with this farmer, to sharecrop with him for so many years, knowing all the time that we still had our land up here, but we went out there to sharecropping. So by the time the sharecropper was ready to move back to Huntsville, wherever he moved back to, he I mean, yeah, by the time we got ready to move back up here, the condemnation had already went down. You know, they had started proceeding on the land, the condemnation proceeding. So really, we didn't have no land to come back to, you know, because even though he tried to come back, but it was too late.
Did you ever talk to your father about why he left to go sharecrop somebody else's land?
I never did talk to him about it, but I always wondered about it. Why did he leave his land? Because see, after we left the land, we moved on Capshaw, like Bill said. That's why our mother died at that place. We was living in a pretty decent house, and his house, brick house, was right up the street, about a quarter of a mile from our house. And then my mother died, and then he put us back into a dirt field, an old broken down house. I mean, it was broken down. I wondered why Dad. I wanted to ask my father, but I was too young, you know, to put those type of questions to him. Why did you move us from a pretty decent house and let this man put us back into a field? And by then, my mother was dead, and my mother she was really the backbone of the family because she could read and write. She could read and write. And I do believe that she had to live until this condemnation was over, we would have had a better life. It wouldn't have happened like this to the family. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I guess
If you want to ask me something else, that's
I'm
okay.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I want to hear the stories about memories of the land, memories about living
Okay,
there.
okay. I'm like number 7 in line, so I don't have really that many memories. Like my brother said, our mother died when I was 3, and my brother Mike was like 9 months. So we live off of memories from our older siblings. But I do remember the hard times that we had as far as moving from house to house to house with deplorable conditions. You know, I heard my brother talking about how we have all really suffered PTSD. We didn't know it then, but as the years went on, you know, we had to be moved from house to house, houses that didn't have flooring, houses where we had to put buckets and things to catch the water, houses where we had to go down into what me and my brother called a cave to get the water and stuff. So these are some of the conditions that we had to face as we grew up from what was done to our father and to our land, not knowing, me and my baby brother, not knowing all this, that we could have had a better life if the situation that was presented and done to our father had not happened. Because I feel like our quality of life was taken from us. Not only us, from our children and children's children, but mostly from the siblings. There are so much of my childhood life that the PTSD has taken away from me. I can't remember, like most kids can remember, being like 5 and 6 years old. I remember that my brother told me about a time when I was screaming and hollering and telling me I can't remember. And I asked him, why can't I remember these things? He said, because we moved so many times. My brother Jesse told me. I said, why can't I remember being in the 1st grade? He said, because you didn't go half of the time. He said, because we were on the go so much after this atrocity had happened to our father, of our land being taken, until we had to move. We moved, in my mind, I remember at least 8 times. Not remember, but we counted them up one time as all of us sit around and talk about them. This atrocity that was done to our family. And we came up that we have moved 8 times in our lives during that time. So in that time, yes, horrific things, you know, horrific times, you know, when you don't have food to eat, when you don't have necessities of life that most people have. And we didn't have to live that way. Had that not been done to us, we didn't have to live that way. So those are the times that I remember, just real hard times, not having this, not having that. But our Father, he did the best he could for us. He did the best he could. We and my brothers, you know, they had to quit school. My oldest brothers right here, they had to quit school and go to the woods and cut down trees and stuff and bring trees home to make a fire. This is the type of life that we were poured into because of what was done to us by this condemnation of the land. So I don't remember any good times. I remember thinking as a child, every year, seemed like to me, this is in Brenda's mind, every Christmas came around, I'm like, why do I get the same doll? Little, it was a, little dog, rag doll. And I used to think, why do I get this doll every year? And I would go through magazines and I would look at all these nice things. And I'm thinking, boy, when I get grown, I'm going to get this, that, and that. But I could have had this, that, and that had this not been done to our family. So those are the things that stick in my mind and my heart today. And back to the PTSD, it's real. And the shaking and the nightmares and things like this. You know, all me and all my brothers, like my baby brother said, we have tremors and things in our hands and in our bodies because of what was done to us with this condemnation. But we survived.
I want to ask Mr. Jones, any memories that you're able to share about growing up on that property, living there with your folks?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, you know, when I was young, but it was so much hardship and pain that an ordinary person couldn't have made it, because we had hard times and it seemed like nobody cared about us, you know. It was just us, and it was just hard time. But Dad and Mama, they did the best they could for what they had. They did the best they could, and I owe it to Mike and Brenda, these two right here. They searched, you know, and JT searched up there because they had a little more education than we had, me and my brother had, and it was real touch and go, man. It was just hard life, you know. Like she said, we used to live in houses that you can lay down and look out, count the stars, you know, and water, and catch water in the house. Just tin roof houses. And like she said, we moved about 5 or 6 times, you know.
8.
And my dad, he did the best he could, you know, with the education that he had. And he did the best he could. But man, you don't realize how evil people can be, you know. These people down here want to take everything from us and leave us with nothing. And they did. Sometimes I believe they did something to my mama, you know. And we never could, you know, prove it, but she wasn't sick. She just died all of a sudden, you know. And that hurt me real bad, you know. It hurt me real bad because the day my mama died, I took off running. You know, my dad had to catch me because, you know, it hurt so bad. But I believe that God had something for us, you know, to stick together. So I owe it all to these 4 right here, because they had a little more education than I had, you know. I had to stop and be a man at the age of 10 years old, you know. I had to work hard, and sometimes I'll be out in the woods, you know, in the snow, my feet's I guess that's the reason why my feet are messed up now, because I was all out in the snow cutting wood, you know, trying to make a day. Cutting wood to keep warm, keep the children, you know, keep it warm too. I say it was hard, man, and I don't think a lot of people would have made it, you know, but we stuck together and did what was right and tried to do good every day. And we made it.
Did you ever understand from your parents why they left the land that their family had inherited and owned and went to go be sharecroppers on somebody else's land?
No, I never did talk to my dad about that.
Could I speak to that? Yes, it was a logical plan to get us off the land. My father didn't know enough about the land, you understand, how much land that he was possessing at that time in that community. He had heard people say, some of his relatives, that his father owned some land, but my father never did go to the courthouse because, like I said, he couldn't read or write. He never did go to the courthouse and try to find out how much land was he really possessing, you understand, for that concern. But the plan was all together about Sanderson, and you mentioned that name, Sanderson, and we knowed him real good. I knowed him real good. My brother knowed him real good. These other siblings didn't know him too good. But my mother worked for him. My mother ain't worked for him, you understand? And they was close-knit. He was close-knit with those two peoples, you know, in the family. So once the condemnation, as they talking about, came down, he wanted to get us off the land real quick. So I remember traveling to the country with my father when I was small to look at some land that he was on buy out there in the country, you know. Me and my mother was with him and myself, none of the other children was with him. I was so close to my family, father and mother. And I used to listen to them talk. And he said, my mother told him, said, I don't want to live this far from the city. That was Tony, Alabama. I don't want to live this far from the city. Well, Sanderson thought he was going to move out there quick, you know, get off the land. He ain't bothered nobody on the land but us, you understand, the Jones family. There was about 4 or 5 more families staying on that property close corners with us, you understand. But he wanted to get rid of our family off the land. Nobody else, none of the blacks, you understand. Mm-hmm. He wanted to get rid of us. So I said, my mother said she don't want to move that far out. So after that didn't take place, then all of a sudden come up, we're going to move to the country, capture a road, like JT said, to sharecrop with him. You understand? He had to come up with another way of get us off the land, you know. And my mother was for that because she worked for him, you know. My auntie was for that. My mother auntie was for that because she was close-knit to him, you understand. So that worked out real good for us to get off, he to get us off the land and take us out there, you understand, for the condemnation take place. He didn't want my father there when the condemnation come down, you see. And that's how they was acting. This was a very deep, cynical thing that happened to our family. Planned. It just wasn't just come off the top of your head. This was planned for years in ahead of time, you understand. He knew that the land was coming down into a condemnation, you understand. My father and them didn't know. But everybody that lived next door to us, maybe 20 or 30 feet from us, they got paid for their land. They got paid. So-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. They all got paid with no problem. But he couldn't wait for the condemnation to come down for my father to get paid like all these other people's got paid, you understand. He wanted to get rid of my father off the land quick as it possible.
And let me ask, why do you think they weren't focused on the other families and just focused on the Jones?
Because my father owned the land they stayed on also. See, he owned that land also.
He had other people living on his land.
And the other
Plus
people
he had the well.
Huh?
and he had the well.
Exactly. You see, and those people they wouldn't no step up. I looked at this hard too and studied hard. They wouldn't, and some of us are some of our relatives. They wasn't gonna step up and say that Willie Jones owned my land too. You wouldn't have did it neither. You understand? You want to get paid, and he want to get paid. So you're not gonna cause no waves to make sure that Willie Jones get his share that he supposed to have. You understand? Because he would have owned all their land. You understand? So they played along with the game.
So getting your family off the land to go sharecrop on the Sandersons' land, that was really, your understanding, that was part of the plan so that your father would be gone and they could not have any trouble with the eminent domain.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. That's what it was all about, you understand? It wasn't about him loving us or have a feeling for us, you understand? He had a plan, you understand? And he worked it to the end to get the land, you know. So like I said, if the land, he could have gave my father, look, he could have well have said, well, Willie Jones, I give you $500 for the land. It ain't in the city limit now. That's called the country then. Land wasn't going no more than $100 an acre. See, he could have just bought the land with one of my father, and my father would have took it if he had offered him $500 or $600 for it at that time. You understand? But something else was involved. Something deeper was involved in that. You understand? So he had to work the plan to get my father off the land, while my father wouldn't be in the way of stopping him or the rest of the people from getting paid. You understand? He would have been able to do that if he had got him a lawyer. You see, he would have found out how much land that he really owned. See,
I want to say one thing. I think Sanderson, you know, he got a quick claim deed before the condemnation come down. He gets a quick claim and sells his land, which was 30 acres at the time, to the Board of Trustees of the University of Alabama, Huntsville. And he never had, he came up here in 1947. He never had clear title to the land. All he did was he put up fences and had horses and cows out there. That's the only evidence he could say that. That's when he had to hurry up and quit claiming to the Board of Trustees of the University of Huntsville. And I think, you know, there's all my brothers and sisters here. I know my dad I don't think he never knew he had 10 acres. But he did know he had that well. I don't think he never knew he had 10 acres, but he knew he had an interest in that 2.25, which he probably got a 1/4. All his siblings got a 1/4 interest out of that. He knew that, and he knew he had that well.
Let me ask if any of you would share how you think your life, your experience might have been different if your family had not lost the land.
I'll start there. I think if our land, if we hadn't lost our land and our will, that we would have a better life. A better life. We could have been one of the predominant black families here in Huntsville. We could have been able to help people, do for our children and grandchildren, and get them a proper education. And that's what I feel.
Anybody else want to share?
George, I think JT's right, because if you go back towards the history of the property, you see the home that they gave a teacher to teach school. So if all this land theft wouldn't have happened, the community would have also had education for the community. Billy would have got educated. Junior would have got educated. We could have all of us could have got education right there in the community. And we could have had more wealth within the community, for the community, and places to grow crops like they were doing back in those times. And we could have emerged as a well-to-do family, because the property now is worth millions of dollars, millions, if not more. And if any time that they would have came for asking for to sell the property, we could have been there to turn it down. And the well that we had, we could have leased it to them and generated wealth and sending our kids off to college. And just a cycle would have kept going, and the wealth would have kept turning
That's right.
in the family.
Anyone else want to share how you think things might have been different?
Yeah, I'd like to add on to what my two brothers said, that we would have been a better off family, because I knew the families that was living door to door almost to us, how they fared out, you understand, about when they sold their land, you know, they went on to be a pretty good families, you understand, to raise their children and send them to school and stuff like that, you know. And our course in life, we went from that to nothing, you understand. We didn't have, our father didn't have a chance to make it better for us. Our mother died when we was very young, you understand. So we didn't have anything to go and look forward to, you understand. But the families like the Sanderson, they came out ahead, and the rest of the community, black peoples in that community, they came out ahead with their families. Yeah. We're the only people that own more land in that community that didn't get anything for it. You understand?
That's it.
That's it.
Ms.
You
Jones?
finished, brother?
Yes.
Just piggyback on what my brothers have said, I think we would have been better off also had the people that my brother just talked about, all those people who someone was related to us down the line, but the ones that were closely related to us. As my brothers did the research, they ran into some of these cousins and things and asking them questions about this. And like my brother said, it goes deep to the point where a lot of these cousins, the information that they knew, they were not willing to let us know. I even talked to one of our cousins, and you could just get the feel from her that this was something that was never to be talked about. Very secret, that was kept within the family to keep the family, the Jones family, Willie L. Jones family, who was the original owners and still the owners of this property. But because it was such a dark secret that all these people came together and manipulated the time that when they were giving out the money for this land, all of them came in and did this and that and got their part. So therefore the secrets that they had, they took them to the grave. Did it hurt our family? Of course. It robbed our family of generational wealth. I have 28 grandkids. So you see, generational wealth could have did this, that, and the other for my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, and my great-great-kids that are coming forth. You know, like my brother said, all the other people that fared well and got money for the land, all of them living in nice houses. Nice houses. But when you look at the Jones siblings, all of us sitting here, out of us 5, neither one of us have ownership to a home. So our generational wealth was stolen from us, and it's still being stolen. But like my baby brother said in his interview, we're going to fight. We're going to continue to fight, and we're going to keep on talking, and we're going to keep on talking to individuals like you, sir. We appreciate your help. Until somebody says, okay, what's wrong? We may not be able to see it. I pray that we do. But if we don't, I got plenty of them in line. I just told you I got 26 grandkids. So out of all my siblings, I got all these grandbabies.
Yeah, you said 28 a couple minutes ago.
Well,
I'm
it
wondering
may
what
be
happened to the
28.
other 26.
It's 26, 28. As I'm talking, it might be more.
Old lady that lives in the shoe.
But my point is, generation after generation after generation, of wealth was stolen from us. And that was a horrible thing.
So, Ms. Jones, you mentioned your grandchildren. Let me ask each of you, and we can close this out. Let me ask each of you, what do you want your great-grandchildren to know about Willie Jones, about your family, about your legacy? What do you want us to be able to share with your great-grandchildren and their great-grandchildren?
Well, believe it or not, we're sharing it already. We're sharing the wealth.
Yep.
We're sharing of the property that is worth. We're sharing the history, the great history behind our ancestors. Like my brother took you through, I heard him talk to you, so you know what I'm talking about. The history that we just don't come from no vagabonds. We come from a great history, a line of people that served in prominent positions of the United States. So I want my grandchildren to know this, great-grandchildren and great-great-grand. I want them to know that they are coming from a proud grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather, and that they can hold their heads high and they can continue to fight as we go to sleep, as each one of us to go to sleep. I want them to step up, and they're doing that. I want them to know that, to be proud. You come from a proud lineage.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Jones, what do you want your grandchildren and their grandchildren to know?
Well, first of all and foremost, I will want them to know the fight that the siblings, which is us here now, that we put towards the injustice, and we stood tall against the city governments and county governments and the board of trustees, and to know that we will never forget them, even in death, and for them to never forget us in death, and to continue to fight if we hadn't ended it. Continue to fight for what is yours.
What is right.
That's right. That's right.
Anybody else want to share what you want your descendants to know?
Well, I want, it ain't too much directed at my descendant. I want the people to know the truth, what happened here in this town, because this is what been kept covered up. And I want to know why, as my sister said, this was such a secret. You know, I'm not satisfied with just, well, he had this, my father had this. But why was that kept such a secret, you understand? What else is involved here in the day keeping a secret from us that we don't even now know, you understand? And the only thing that I can come up with is these people's here, you see, that owned the plantation at one time. Is it possible for us, they trying to keep the plantation from us that would have should have been our birthright?
Yeah.
You see? It's got to be more than what they's talking about what happened in 62 about the condemnation. That whole campus was taken, you know, from peoples out there, you understand? And our house sat in the center of that campus out there, you understand? And the duck pond well and stuff like that, you understand, was in our hands, family hands and stuff like that. It's got to be more, it is more, you understand? That we haven't discovered it yet, you understand, but I have a feeling deep down in my heart that as we are from the plantation owners, then we are the plantation deceivers, you understand? And that's what they're hiding from us. They don't want us to know that. At the time that the property was condemned and stuff like that, our family folks came into, if we are inheriting like we think we are, we should have been approached by somebody telling you this is what you inherited from your peoples, this plantation. Because the man that owned the plantation, name is never spoken out there on that campus, nowhere. You understand? Nowhere, no sign, no plats, or no nothing. You might find them in the book or library in a book somewhere, but you ain't gonna find nothing else out there. You go to some places like, you heard of John Valley, ain't you?
We're gonna go.
Uh-huh. those people over there own a vast volume of land, and they recognize that by putting that name out there, Jones Valley. The Jones family own all that land over there in Jones Valley, you understand? So this man over here had more land than those people over there, and you don't find his name nowhere, you see? So there's a deep secret, yet still had never been told about what happened to the land that our grandfather Nim was born on and we was born on, you understand? That have never been discovered. Now if we could discover that what happened to the land by bloodline, we can be at rest, at peace with one another, you understand? Because we want to, my feelings that I want to know whether I get a penny or a dime from it. I want to know my family more important than money, you understand? Why my roots come from, you understand? So I want to know that and share it with my family, you see? Well, they'll know that, what happened to us.
One of our hopes in collecting this story is we may not have all the information right now today, but hopefully by recording this story, this history, keeping track of this, as we get more information in the future, we can use to start to answer some of those questions.
Yes,
Amen.
yes.
Amen.
Is there anything else that anyone else would like to share?
I'd like to say one more thing. I think, like Bill said, everything been a secret. But me and Mike and I, we did the research on the land. And we went through some tough times in our research that people didn't want to help us. Sometimes we would find one that would help us. And when we got down to the bottom of things, the judge himself, papers that me and Mike, we was pretty intelligent. We would go to papers, the books, and certain stuff supposed to be in a certain place. Come to find out, the judge had it downstairs in his file cabinet, locked up, hid it from us. And Mike and I went through some hard time. We found a document that was sealed like they did back in the cowboy days. Sealed. This is the land of Willie Jones. Is that right, Mike?
Correct.
Yep, that was the land of Willie Jones. It was sealed. And they didn't want us to find it. And that was hard time, Mike and I, we had all kind of racist people staring down at us. But we wouldn't stop the fight. We kept going strong. The more racism came at us, the stronger we got. And like I say, my dad, they used to call him crack because he used to look so much like a white man. And I remember one day, me and him I was working for this Caucasian, we was living on their property. And so he told me to come, I want you to cut some grass for me. I thought I was gonna be on a push mower or either ride mower, I get down there, he give me a sling blade. And the grass was about knee high. And I was seeing snakes out there. I threw that sling blade on the ground. I left. And we lived up on a mountain like area, a hill like. And before I got home almost, I seen an old truck coming, look like Dorothy on the Wizard of Oz, somebody, old witch. I said, here he come there, and he got up there. I don't know what my dad told him, but he went down that hill fast as he came up. I don't know what, he was the only man. I was so proud of him, man, because he stood up against this white man.
Amen. Amen.
And he looked like a white man himself. I guess the white man didn't know what to do to him. Sure wasn't gonna call him no nigga. I was so proud of him. I'll never forget that day.
Amen.
I think he's very proud of what all of you are doing, and not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it as siblings, as a family. I think he's very proud. So
Amen.
thank you all so much for sharing this story. It's been very,
you, sir.
very
Thank you.
powerful.
Hey, George, I got one more thing
Please.
I want to say. We hadn't got the research back from the genealogist, but there's a possibility that the first generations are buried somewhere on that campus, starting with the slave, Elizabeth, Columbus, Reuben. There's a slight chance that they may be buried under some of the buildings over there. We know where Tommy, which was the 5th generation, correct?
Yes.
We know where he's buried. We found that research. He's on Bradford, called Bradford Cemetery. But when the lady finished the research, she might tell us that they're buried somewhere under those buildings.
Wow, so powerful.
Mhm.
I want to thank you all again for your participation, for sharing this. It's just such an important story. It's a part of our history. It's a part of our legacy. And our goal is to make sure that's going to be part of our future.
Yes, sir.
So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.